What's up, y'all? We're back. Yeah, I know it's been a minute since I've been live. Jake, too. Welcome back to the show. Down the Pike podcast, episode 31, I believe. Thanks for joining me, Jake. What's going on, man? Good morning.
Nothing much, man. Good morning. Yeah, All-Star weekend finally starting to come to a close, and now second half of seasons are about to start up. Plus, we do have the trade deadline that's going to be coming up. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. And of course, next weekend, that's where the NFL season comes close to a close with Super Bowl
Comes
57. So
comes to an end. Yep.
mhm.
And then we enter that purgatory, that desolate place where there's no football until
Yep.
August.
Well, there's still going to be until we got, the XFL, USFL, at least for now to keep us entertained. But yeah.
Entertained at least. Absolutely. So let's talk. Let's stick with football to start the show off here. What's up, Karam? Let's stick with football here to start the show off. Tom Brady announcing his retirement this time, and I air quote it for good.
Mhm.
I just judging from watching the video, it seems like this time he really is done. I don't think he's coming back. I think that was it for him. I think he's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, proven everything he needs to prove. One of the greatest to ever play the game. Just the numbers that he was able to not. I mean, like numbers don't they mean a lot, but like just everything that goes along with him. That he's one of the best to ever do it, man. He just yeah. There's nothing left to prove for him. That he's the one of the greatest, if not the greatest, uh, NFL quarterback to ever play. Uh, that's so that is interesting. I like I said, I don't think he's coming back. What do you have to say about Brady?
Well, I think, yeah, when he put together his video, we all know how it is when it comes to Tom Brady. Was he for real or is he just kind of playing this act? Because
Mm-hmm.
we've seen this too many times. Like, I don't feel like it's like a Brett Favre thing. I think it's far from it. Um, but I think you could tell from what was running through his mind and just kind of the way he described it. Because
Yeah.
you have to think this was the toughest season for him because of, first of all, dealing with the divorce with Giselle, his
Mm-hmm.
kid. And the other thing too is he was barking an awful lot with Tampa Bay. Like, you could tell he was not going to be happy there, and guys were not exactly executing plays, but injuries, it does take a toll. Now, Todd Bowles, we know, is the head coach. With Byron Leftwich now gone, this
Yeah.
offense this offense was completely abysmal. And we know that with due to injuries plus to inconsistencies, like, there wasn't a whole ton of throws to Mike Evans all throughout this year. So
No.
it has been tough with Tampa Bay, but we all know how Tampa Bay is. They're a cocktails in the morning type city, and
Yep.
they're very laxed, and that's where, the organization, it really took they pummeled. So by that point, Tom really, he thoroughly thought about it. And that's where, he made that announcement. I think part of that is possibly time is starting to catch up with him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we all thought, he was gonna play like, he made all this hype that he was gonna play longer, but sometimes your body will tell you otherwise.
He
And
looked human this year. He
yes,
looked
he did.
human.
Yeah,
He
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 looked
fell off he fell off the mountaintop.
no, don't
He
get me
didn't
wrong,
he didn't
he's
come
still
crashing all the way down, but he fell
yeah,
off the mountaintop.
yeah, and you could tell, like, he still has, the accuracy. He still has a lot of, like, the stuff, even at his age, getting close to 50, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's never ever the same. And the fact of the matter is that Tom's already proven so much, and the league is already in good hands with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, um, Trevor Lawrence, and Lamar Jackson. So many different quarterback talents, and they're still continuing to grow.
Yeah.
So Tom is now part of that end of that era between him, Drew Brees, um, Big Ben, Philip Rivers, and Peyton Manning. Now, the only person left to retire is obviously Aaron Rodgers. But
Yeah, once Rodgers retires, it's going to truly be the end of an era.
yeah,
It's he's the last one standing. Once Rodgers goes, he's that really is the end of an era. And I'll tell you what, man, we've got to see that era of quarterback, that Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Philip Rivers, Roethlisberger, Breeze, that era of quarter, man, we got to see some freaking
that was 20
Peyton
years of
Manning, that
entertainment.
era of quarterback play. We got to see some you have to just embrace that and just we got to see some high level, elite level quarterback play in the battles between Brady and Manning back and forth in the early 2000s. That was quarterback play at its finest. Those are two guys, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks playing against one another. That's elite level quarterback play, and that level of competitiveness and just not like that level, we might not see that again for a long time.
Yeah, and you got to think that's 20 years of entertainment as well because of all those quarterbacks. Now, we did
Mm-hmm.
get thrown a bunch of wild card quarterbacks where we had we had Byron Leftwich at one point. We had David Garrard. We also had, other mixtures of good quarterbacks, but they weren't like over the top elite ones. So even the time when we watched Donovan McNabb, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there were several guys that were all put into that mix, but nowhere close to the competitiveness that we watched right in front of us. And here's what's funny. And in that era of those six quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
only one of them never won a championship. One.
Yep.
Because Eli had won 2, Peyton had won 2.
Oh, I forgot Eli
Yeah.
Manning too. You could throw Eli Manning in there too as
Yep.
well.
Yep. Eli won 2, Peyton won 2, Drew Brees won at least 1.
He won
Tom
one. Yep.
Tom's there with 7, and then Big Ben has 2.
Yeah.
And the only person who's left Super Bowl-less was Philip Rivers. And to be the most talented yet consistent quarterback at that time, like, it's unfortunate. But again, it was what gave us like so much of that entertainment because of the amount of competitiveness and how much drive that these guys had. So I think Tom definitely felt human this year. And I think looking back at it, and I don't know, this could be a potential where I, I don't know if he really does figure things out with Giselle from the look of it, because I just think part of that is it is tough because of the fact of you're kind of fighting against pride because you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with your personal life, you have kids involved, you have your family. Now everybody they all said, well, he does spend a lot of family time. There's no doubt about that. But I'm like, but does he really have like that real inner connection with his kids? That's the toughest part. Now, you could spend a lot of the time yet not be present, or you could be that kind that really does show him the ropes and be present in those moments. There's a difference between the two of them. But I think Tom really has shown himself to be human. But I think this was honestly a great Hall of Fame career. I don't care how anybody else looks at this. Um, and by the way, there's never going to be a quarterback who's going to repeat what he did. So
No,
I think
never.
that's part of the reason, like, yes, we're going to get a new era of quarterbacks. Um, the league is in fantastic hands because of all of its promotions, all of its talent that's coming in and out of college. Like, this is kind of the thing we kept preaching about the NBA. Respect your young stars out of college. That's what the NFL does so well. They love college football. You get a lot of these kids that they get geared up for the NFL level, but NBA, it's a completely different realm. They don't really respect a whole lot of their college basketball stars,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not even groomed up to the point to where they can play at an elite level in the NBA. I think it's
Yeah,
just completely just thrown all over the place. But
absolutely.
I think the NFL will be just fine. They've got so many different endorsement deals. They got different media deals. Quarterbacks are just looking absolutely elite. And then this year, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. And the year after, Drake
Yeah.
May and Caleb Williams,
Mm-hmm.
the league will be just fine. There's going to be so many different quarterbacks coming out of college that they're just going to take our breaths away. So great career for Tom. Happy for him. And we better hope it is for good because, yes, we all know how that really handled out with Brett Favre, but I think it truthfully is for good this
Me
time.
too. I don't think he's coming back. Just judging from how the emotion that was, how, the first one didn't seem any like, um, it seemed like somebody leaked the first one and
Yeah.
it got out before he could act like, do enough damage control. So I think that's kind of what happened the first time around. This time around does seem more serious and sincere. But let's
Yeah.
stick with football, Jake. Super Bowl 57 coming
Yeah.
up. First of all, who you got? Who are you going with?
Eagles.
Philadelphia or the Chiefs?
Eagles.
I am going to
Flying all
go
the
with
way.
Philly as well. I think Philly has the more complete team. I think they have the offense to keep up with the Chiefs, and they definitely have the better defense.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna go with the Eagles, and if the if the if the Chiefs lose this game, we're getting a lot of we're getting a lot of the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty talk lately, and that's not. You have one Super Bowl. You have one.
Mhm.
That's not a dynasty. Making it to the Super Bowl is one thing. Dynasties win multiple Super Bowls in a very short amount of time. We're talking 3 and 5 years, 2 and 4, 3 and 6 years. Multiple, and I'm not. No, 2 doesn't count. That does not count. You need 3 or 4 in a short time span. That's a
Yeah.
dynasty,
Yeah.
right? Now, have the Chiefs been probably the most consistently good team over the last 3 seasons? Yeah, I'll give them that. Consistently good in the mix, always competitive and in the Super Bowl mix. Yeah, the last 3 seasons they have. I'll give them that. But does it make them a dynasty? No.
No.
No, it does not. And I personally think the Chiefs window is when they signed Patrick Mahomes to that massive deal, they gave themselves a 5 to 7 year window to win as much as they could, because as soon as that, you're seeing what could happen to Patrick Mahomes with Lamar Jackson. That athletic, that God-given, what makes Patrick Mahomes and what made Lamar Jackson so good is what makes Patrick Mahomes really good. It's that God-given natural athletic ability, just insane athletic ability. Not so much the accuracy or the ability to read the defense, not so much the mind, but the God-given athletic ability. The kid can scramble, he can make plays with his legs, he can keep a play alive. Well, as you get older, Jake, that slows down. That goes away. And what are you left with? You're
Nothing.
left with this. What's up here? Your mind. Your mind and your accuracy as a quarterback. And if you can't read a defense and deliver an accurate, if you're not, over 63%, you're probably not going to last, over 8 years in the NFL. And we're seeing it with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. They get beat up, dude. They take a lot of abuse when they get hit. You know
Yeah,
what I
I take
mean?
a lot of hits.
Patrick Mahomes had a high ankle sprain in the Super Bowl with Brady, and look what happened to him. He was playing on one friggin' leg for the whole game. And you know what? He's got a high ankle sprain going into the Super Bowl this year. And you know what? I don't care if this is savage or not, but if I'm the Eagles, test that ankle a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Let's see how well that sucker's healed. Hit him, hit Mahomes, and see how well that ankle really is. I'm not I'm not saying injure him, but let's test it a little bit. Let's see how well that ankle is healed. That is a weakness, and any good defense is going to look at that and say, if we can hit him and get him out of the game, that increases our chances of winning this thing tenfold. Because let's be honest, Pat Mahomes is a weapon himself. That dude is a weapon. He's a game changer when he's on the field. When he's not on the field, that team gets significantly worse.
Yeah. No, and it is true because ultimately, with first of all, I kind of look at where the Chiefs are right now. And correct me if I'm wrong about this, but this was literally like I use the Denver Broncos for example. Like the younger John Elway at the time, you know how
Mhm,
many times Denver's been in the Super Bowl, you know, in that like pre-prime year for John Elway.
mhm,
They didn't even win those Super Bowls. The Giants ended up beating them, and I think, and there was another team that beat them in the Super Bowl, and they didn't even look their best. They
mhm,
may have dominated up into their division, and they've also gotten to the AFC Championship, multiple times, but they they have not built a type of dynasty thing yet.
no,
And they yes, they can be the most like consistent team that's been winning games because of Andy Reid's smart play calling. We also know too that, Patrick Mahomes, first of all, when he came out of college in Texas Tech, he had a lot of wild stuff. He had a
yeah,
lot of stuff that needed to be cleaned up and fixed. And had it not been for Andy Reid, you wouldn't have not looked at how Patrick Mahomes is right now. Like, he would have been like, if you took him to a different, um, organization and you had them try to train up Patrick Mahomes, they would not succeed the way that Andy Reid does. So, I think Andy Reid, because he's built that pedigree to where the, to where basically they stay consistent. They've been winning the division a lot. They've also got themselves into the playoffs, even with Alex Smith, and then they got themselves over the top with Patrick Mahomes. That was whole part of the building process. But 2019, they won a Super Bowl. They go the next year in 2020 and lose it against Tampa. And here they are again. But they've been to multiple AFC championship games where
mhm.
they've lost to Cincinnati. They've beaten Cincinnati now, and they got their revenge against them. But this is not gonna be that easy game that you're gonna play,
What's up,
especially
Zoe?
if you've got a team that is just stacked offensively and defensively, and they play really good situational football. That's where I think Philadelphia is really gonna hand it to Kansas City. And by the way, Kansas City doesn't have that home run swing of a player at all anymore when like they used to with Tyreek Hill. So they
I just
don't.
think the most complete teams win big games like that,
Yep.
and the Chiefs' defense is a serious liability.
Yeah.
It's a serious liability.
The
It's not that
secondaries
good.
are
It is.
yeah.
Is it above average? Yeah, it's above average, but it's definitely not on the level that the Eagles' defense is on.
Yeah.
The Eagles have a good D. They have a good pass rush up. They have a good pass rush up front, and they have, the back end is good enough to hold up as, for what they need.
Yeah.
They're they're just a more complete team.
Yeah, they're the more complete team, and the fact of the matter is too, here's a stat that you gotta look at too. I mean, and the Eagles, they're gonna be containing a lot in that offensive line. You can't get past Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. And the
No.
rest of everybody, they all flowed right. They all flow the best way. But
Mhm.
Frank Clark, he's already gotten 10.5 sacks being in the playoffs, and he's gotten several tackles. So he's obviously the X factor in there. But Chris Jones, he's yet to even record a sack in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
not really shown up in a lot of those areas. Yes, he can be really clutch when it comes to the regular season, but not that great in the postseason. So um, you gotta expect the Chiefs to really use Frank Clark a whole lot, but I doubt that's gonna be the narrative because of how Philadelphia's line is put together. They're not gonna be the kind that's gonna allow a
I'll,
whole lot of
I'll
pressure
give
to
Philly
Jalen
this,
Hurts.
right? I'll give Philly this. They have an opportunity to really dominate the line of scrimmage.
Mhm.
I don't the Chiefs people say that like the Chiefs don't have a good D. Like they're getting I think the Chiefs get hyped up way more than they really are.
They really do.
Is that offense, explosive? Yeah, it still is, right? It definitely still is explosive. But you like you said, take Tyreek Hill out of there, you know what I mean? And you miss that. Like Mecole Hardman is a really good player. He is. He's a really good receiver. He's shifty. You get him the ball in space and he can do a lot of damage, you know? But
Yep.
is he Tyreek Hill? No. No, he's not. He's probably not even half of what that.
And throwing Kadarius Toney. You
But
throw in
that's
Kadarius Toney in the middle of it, he's not even to the type of level talent, let alone even be
that's what I
healthy
mean. You
enough
take
like Tyreek
like
Hill.
I'm with you. If the Eagles D plays to its potential, Kansas City's going to have a hard time moving the football. And that's going to be, if I was the Eagles, this is how I would run it. The longer we can keep Pat Mahomes off the field, the better off our chances are going to be. If the Eagles can sustain long drive, even if it's a field goal, if the Eagles can put points up and keep Pat Mahomes off the field, like I said, even a field goal, whether they score a touchdown or not, as long as you can eat clock and get points, you're going to be in the game.
Yeah, and I don't expect the Chiefs' run game to really be all that much of a factor either. I mean, I know we look at Isaiah Pacheco as like a real good fast guy, and yeah, he was a late snag out of Rutgers. But the
Mm-hmm.
other thing is look at what is in front of you: Fletcher Cox, Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Jordan Davis. Like, you really think you're going to test that front line of that defense? And then, let alone, you've got Kaiser White, who knows how to tackle, but at the same time, like, they've got real good corners and safeties that they could man to man coverage, or they could literally play in deep coverage to where wherever Patrick Mahomes is going to throw that deep ball at, somebody's going to be there. And that's where I think that's where Philadelphia is explosive at the most.
See, now usually I would say the best way to beat Pat Mahomes is to keep him in the pocket, right? And keep him still. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
And cover every one of his weapons.
But in this case, it's almost like put him on the run a little bit.
Mhm.
See if he can scramble, you know?
Yep.
Let that pass rush try and get home, and because the more you push a high ankle sprain, Jake. I've had them before. The more you push it, the worse it gets.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. I've felt spraining my ankle, dude. It's not fun.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's and the best like this was the best case scenario for Kansas City getting the 2 weeks of rest for Mahomes. But
yeah,
at the same time, high ankle sprains can linger for months, a month or two, two even. Like they can linger on. And if you step on it wrong or do something wrong, it can come back like that.
yep,
It,
yeah.
it, it's it, like we have some Eagle fans in the chat, and I said it before previously. Test that ankle.
Yep,
Get in the first quarter. Take that 15 minutes and let's see how good it really is. Let's see how healed that ankle really is. Because guess what? If he's got to scramble and you're putting him on the run and that pass rush is getting to him and he's got to move, that's the best case scenario. Let
yeah,
him push that thing and see, because all it takes is one wrong step. And you saw what happened in the Super Bowl against Brady. The dude was so here's the thing. I give in that Super Bowl, as much as I can't stand Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, I gave him a little nod of the cap for that one, because that kid was on one leg for the last half of the third quarter and all of the fourth. And he threw caution to the wind and said, screw it, I'm going. He went out there every series, no complaining. Dude, you saw one leg. The kid was competing on one leg. And so I gave him a little bit of credit for that one. Like that's
yeah,
I mean, but that's how I would handle it, because
yeah.
I don't think that leg is anywhere near where they want it to be, if you want my honest opinion. And the Chiefs should be worried. The Chiefs, if they come in and take this Philly team lightly, the end result's not going to be good.
Here's the other thing that you also got to look at too, because who is Mr. Reliable when it comes to Patrick Mahomes? Travis Kelce is. And what do the Eagles have better than most of the majority of the defenses in this league have not been able to figure out? They've got guys on the
How to
linebacker.
cover and how to slow down Kelce.
That's
Nobody in
all
the
in the
league, no one in
linebacking
this league
position.
has figured out how to do it yet.
And that's the funny thing. So the linebacking position with Nakobe Dean and with Kaiser White, if you actually watched a few spurts of him all season long, he's actually been learning to play both, as a Mike linebacker, and is also somebody that's also been kind of like that. He's that scanner on the field. He's waiting
Yeah.
to see what the quarterback is literally going to do. And he got a couple of interceptions as well because of that. And I think maybe that's part of Jonathan Gannon's, his defensive set, but it's worked out perfectly. So that's why I'm like, I don't think you're going to see a ton out of Travis Kelce that much if you're playing that kind of coverage. So you're having to cover every one of Patrick Mahomes' weapons and force him to actually figure things out and seeing if he could literally throw that needle in the thread for him to at least move that offense.
If the Eagles can somehow slow down Kelsey and make Patrick Mahomes have to use other assets in that offense like Hardman, like Pacheco, like I don't know, man. Like it's the Eagles' defense is what's going to win them this game. If they win, it's going to be because they slow Travis Kelce. The Patriots have given them a perfect blueprint on how to do that. You beat Travis when we beat them in the AFC title game.
Yep.
You hit him at the line of scrimmage. One thing Travis Kelce does not like, and I've watched enough film on him to like see it. When he gets hit at the line, he don't like that. Yeah. He don't like to block. He don't like guys hitting him, right? So if I'm the Eagles, I don't care if he's getting the ball or not. Whack that dude. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Come up, like have Nakobe Dean and Kaiser White come up and hit him at the line. Hit him in that 5 yard mark, right? In that 5 yard leniency, it's legal, dude. Come up and whack that dude. I bet after one quarter of getting hammered by two linebackers like that, I don't think he's going to be too happy.
I love the time when in week 2 when they played the Chargers and Derwin James literally body slammed him so hard to the ground, and it was just like, yeah, like we're gonna be hitting you hard. So that's what Philadelphia really has to do. They got to show physical football at that point.
And the Eagles, like I give the edge to the Eagles in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. I give them the edge. And the game is, if the Eagles can establish a run game, it's over. It's over. If the Eagles are able to run the football with little to no effort, they're done. They're cooked. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs are cooked. It's over. Yeah. This everybody's heavy on the Chiefs because of how, just because that's the NFL narrative, but this game could very well go the opposite way. The Eagles are coming in there and they're to be honest, they got less to lose. You know what I mean? I just think like I've been saying, they're the more complete team.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. This is what's interesting because how many times has Steve Spagnuolo been in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about the Giants defense and look at the Chiefs defense. Chiefs defense would not even be close to where the Giants defense was. Now with Strahan, now with Tuck, now with Kiwanuka, and certainly not with a bunch of their secondaries out in that backfield. It doesn't even come close to what the Chiefs are. Like the Chiefs are nowhere near where the Giants were when they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots twice. Yeah. And Spags was part of that defense. So it's like he doesn't even keep the blueprint.
Offense gets you to the big game. Offense will get you there. Putting points up and beating people, outscoring people, yeah. But at that level, you're facing the best, you're facing the best of the best. At that level, you need to be able to stop people too. If you can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to control the clock.
The Eagles, like I said before, the Eagles D is going to win, is going to be what wins them this game. They're going to, because they have the offense to keep up.
Yep. Yeah, they got the offense to keep up, and they know how to go toe-to-toe with them. By the way, I mean, the fact that they have several different options all around, like Miles Sanders, running the football. They also have, first of all, do you really think any of those secondaries for the Chiefs are really going to cover well against Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown?
No.
I really don't. No, especially with how A.J. Brown really goes up for the ball and how he hauls it in. It's almost like watching Julio Jones again.
No, those two receivers are elite. They're very, very good at what they do. That's a fact. The Chiefs are going to have their hands full, and they can't underestimate the Eagles. They can't, or they're going to be in trouble. They're going to get in trouble really quick too.
Yeah.
So if I had to go score wise, by the way, what's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me and Jake here. If I had to go score-wise, I'm going to say 34-21 Eagles.
I think
that's
35.
a touchdown. That's a touchdown a quarter for the Chiefs, which I think is feasible given how potent that offense still is. But I think the Eagles can slow it down enough to where they can put points up and win.
And first of all, for Vegas, even for me living here, that's a bad idea if you put the Eagles as underdogs. It's a
Yeah,
bad
no,
idea. It's a rude
that's
awakening. And
fishy too. You know what I mean? Like that's got some, yeah. Like they're trying, yeah.
like, you know what they live by. They love being underdogs. They
Hmm.
go and they bring that freaking that head of theirs where it's just the underdog mask, and they love being the underdogs. So I think
Hmm.
honestly, it'll be a 35-24 Philadelphia dominance against Kansas City.
I, I just I can't see the Chiefs offense putting over 30 against that Eagles D. I
No.
can't. I can't.
No.
I can't see it. The Eagles have just enough to slow it down.
Eagles in
To
2 games already have only had opponents scored 14 points. That's in
Yeah.
2 weeks combined.
That's what I'm saying. So I put the Chiefs at 21 because it's a touchdown a quarter. And I think they can, a touchdown or 2 field goals a quarter, which I think is completely feasible for that, for what the Eagles and the Chiefs are.
Yep.
But let's kind of change let's shift gears here, Jake. Let's hit it. We're going to hit some we're going to go basketball and then hockey and then baseball to end it. Truck day, by the way, yesterday for baseball. Trucks leaving for spring training. Baseball right around the corner. But let's shift gears and let's talk some basketball, man. Let's talk basketball. So the Celtics, without their head coach this season, Ime Udoka, I'm sure everybody's heard about that mess that happened in the offseason. And Joe Mazzulla now leading that team. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown making arguments for one of the best duos in the league. What do you think, Jake? What are your thoughts on the basketball season so far this year?
Right now, it's been an awful lot of really good narratives, but I think, yeah, Boston's become that really tough. I wouldn't say dominating team because of the fact of Milwaukee's right there behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and Philadelphia, they're close, but they're the kind that even when we see them in the playoffs, they could have a tendency where they might be limited in some areas. Now, you could get them to win the first round, but when it comes to the second round of the playoffs, it's a little different. But
Mm-hmm.
I think right now, because yeah, Boston, they're playing for something because Ime Udoka with the whole thing that he dealt with personally, which was ridiculous. In comes a new head coach, but the assignment has not changed. And I think, but here's the difference though, is that Jaylen Brown is clearly the leader, not Jason Tatum. Jason
That's
Tatum
a hundred.
spoke it out
That is
several times.
100%.
Yeah,
That's a
he
hundred percent
spoke it
right.
several times. He doesn't want to be that big guy, but every time it's like they try to shift the narrative. I think that if they find the consistency in that, um, and I do love both the pieces. I think Jaylen Brown brings a little more of the defensive mindset than what Jason Tatum does. He's just more on the offensive scoring. But also, too, don't forget about Marcus Smart. He's
Mm-hmm.
also another guy that really does bring almost like what Golden State has with Draymond Green. He's got to bring that physical. He's got to bring like that smack talk.
He's
He's
the
got to
edge.
do
He's the
Yep.
attitude. He is the attitude of the team. Why do you think all these years people scream? He aggravates the hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
He aggravates the hell out of me, but at the same time, that dude eats, sleeps, and breathes
Yeah.
Celtics.
Oh yeah.
He is the heart and soul of that team. That dude is he's the heartbeat of that team.
Mhm.
Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum they might be the stars, but Smart is the heartbeat of that team. He brings the edge, he brings the attitude, he brings that us against the world mentality. And you know what? Every team needs a guy like that.
Yeah. No, 100%. And because especially because I honestly do see it's going to be Boston Milwaukee in the championship. Like I do see them in the Eastern Conference Championship really going at it because I think first of all, there is no containing Giannis at this point. Now, the only thing is they got to hope Chris Middleton is healthy. That's the only thing that you really got to hope for this team. But the defensive mindset and mentality that Mike Budenholzer has really put together for the Bucks. They've
Yeah.
played really well. But as far as everybody else in the Eastern Conference, like, let me be honest, Miami, they're going to be to this point where they're kind of done with Kyle Lowry. There's not really a consistent basis with the Heat right now. They're good, but they're not the kind that's going to be the elite. We
I
know,
think their windows, they have a 2-season window before they have to really reconsider what's going on in the direction of that team.
yeah, and listen, Cleveland's put together a really good season. I think Donovan Mitchell's been really, really good. It's young, it's really building to its potential, but they're not quite there yet. That's why I'm like, Cleveland will be interesting to see in the next 2 years, but Donovan Mitchell really has worked a lot better with this roster than I think what he has in Utah.
The one thing that's going to hurt Cleveland, and the reason why I won't like go full on and be like, yeah, it's because they're young and inexperienced.
Yeah,
When you get into playoff basketball, the pressure and the every bucket means something in
it matters.
those games. Every bucket means something in those games, and every like those games are decided on like 3 or 4 plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you don't make the plays in those clutch situations, I think their youth is going to ultimately, it'll take them to a high level. It'll probably take them into the playoffs, and they may surprise someone in the first round, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody might underestimate them in the first round, but once you get to that second level, that second round, that's when that's when you start playing the best, that's when you start playing real competition on a nightly basis. And not only do you got to beat them in one game, you got to beat them in a series. And given the coaching, nights and nights and nights to review how you play their youth is just, I think, ultimately going to be their downfall.
No, it's true.
But they
And
are fun to watch, man. That
yeah,
Cleveland
they
team
are.
they're entertaining.
Yeah, I said it before. I mean, acquiring Donovan Mitchell and especially around a lot of those guys in the lineup, they're going to be built to be something special. But they've got to, get more of the experience in the books. And I think when you, like I said, you give this at least like a 2-year project, they'll be better. I don't see them being elite like a Milwaukee or a Boston or even, a Philadelphia. I don't see them being that way, but get the experience out of the way. Donovan Mitchell, I know, is somebody that's a scoring machine. He's really popped this year than what I think we've seen in Utah. And I think part of that reason is because he comes into a group, he really does gel well. So if you get 2 years out of this thing, I guarantee you they'll be looking a lot better. But the Western Conference, let's be honest, it's been wonky this year.
Oh yeah,
Denver,
it's
Memphis,
anybody's game.
yeah, it's anybody's at this point. And look, I do like Denver, but can we truthfully be honest about what Denver has been in the last few years?
They
Like,
can't win when it matters. That's the
no,
thing. They can't win when it matters.
no,
They're great. They are the Philip Rivers led Chargers of the NBA.
and here's the
River-
funny thing: when
They
you
just
need somebody,
they can't get over that hump when it matters the most. That team crumbles.
yeah, and here's the other thing: when you need somebody that you obviously need them to go off either offensively or defensively, somebody's hurt, and we've seen that with Jamal Murray. We
Yeah.
know that when he gets hurt, that now really kills the momentum of the team.
Oh,
And
it
so
gets
you're relying,
significantly worse, dude.
yeah, and you're
Significantly
relying
worse.
on Nikola Jokic to really do literally everything in his power, and he's only a center. You
Yeah.
gotta expect more than that. Um, Look, I can't I'm at the point now where I can't even stand Memphis at all. They're just hecklers, and I mean, we all talked about that intentional hit that, what's his face? One of the players on Memphis did. Like, he literally meant to make that kinda hit and that
Mhm.
injury. And so I'm like, "Really?" So these guys are just nothing but smack talkers. You've got John Moran and his dad literally mouthing off everywhere to where Shannon Sharp is standing his ground and all the rest of it. So I just think Memphis are posers. I really do. I used to think that like Memphis would be interesting because We know
Oh,
that
dude,
trash talk, but down the road.
they're definitely a pretender. They're
Yeah,
not gonna they don't once again, they don't win when it matters. They don't win when the pressure's cranked up and when it matters. They're one of those teams that for a while, for a long time now, they're not gonna be able to push through that.
but
It's
it's just like this whole conference has just been wonky because here's the
mhm.
thing. Sacramento, better than the Clippers, better than Golden State, better than the Lakers? What the hell?
Yeah.
There's so much now, listen, I know Demantis Sabonis really does put an edge for Sacramento, but and De'Aaron Fox, but that's just unacceptable if you ask me. If you got all those guys and it's just like, are you serious? All those teams to where Sacramento is literally 3rd in the West?
So
And then
let's talk for a second here.
yeah.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Oh,
What a shit show that team is, huh? Like,
oh, that's
so Kyrie and Durant both want out of that. They want out of there. We're done. We're gone. You know. So that Kyrie left Boston hanging.
yep,
Went to first of all he forced his way out of Cleveland because he wasn't happy. That now then he goes to Boston and realizes that the young kids don't need his ass to win, right? Forces his way out of Boston. Same scenario. Forces his way out, right?
yep,
Now he's on Brooklyn with his best buddy there, Durant. And what happens? He figures out that guess what? This team sucks too, and we're not going to win here either.
yeah,
And what do the two of them do? They want out. Like this is the third time he's flaked out on a team and just given up. Like this. The sad part about all of this is that this guy is one of the most naturally talented individuals on a basketball court.
yeah,
Like natural talent wise, ball handle, like shooting, ball handling, like he's one of the best in the league. But his head is just everywhere else except for the basketball court, dude.
yeah. And here's the other part. You put that together with Ben Simmons, who clearly, physically gifted, but yet just soft as all hell. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. And not only that, but yeah, Kyrie just has shown to be a flake, and he's shown to be somebody that it's just all about him. Like, it's all revolved around him. And I'm
Yeah.
surprised that honestly, like, there's 3 teams right now that are interested in Kyrie, and that's the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Mavs. I don't like, look, if you be honest, I don't think Mark Cuban should honestly spend his money to
The
bring that
Mavericks should
because
not go near that guy.
no, like,
Not at all.
all I
Because guess
see
what? He's gonna come in there and he'll poison Luka Doncic's attitude. He will.
yeah, it'll be worse. It'll be a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. So, and then the Clippers, John Wall is just always hurt. So there's no doubt about that. Kawhi can't really, communicate. So that only leaves you with Paul George. And unlike the Clippers have been trying to find their point guard, but I don't think that's really the answer. So that all that's left is the Lakers. And the only person that could literally get to Kyrie is LeBron. That's it. So it's like, but they're trying to ship out Westbrook possibly over to Utah.
And then let's be honest, right? You bring Kyrie in. Let's say LeBron does bring Kyrie over to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Bron's got what? 2 years at the most, maybe left
Yeah.
before he starts. Before he considers leaving the game.
Yep.
Maybe 2, maybe 3. See, you know what I mean? So what do you like? Realistically, is it really a good idea?
No.
No, it's not.
Realistically, you don't want a cancer in that locker room because here's the thing. You are also the same person who recruited for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I'm like, and now you want to bring in Kyrie? Like, people are not going to take the LeBron recruiting very seriously. They're not. And
Well,
the
they've
worst
seen you're seeing the results of that now. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing the results of that now. What's up, Grego? What's up, Water King? How you doing, guys? Um, like people are realizing now that like maybe Braun's not the best at trying to build a team.
only person who probably would have been really good at recruiting, but at the same time knows exactly what the agenda was is probably Kobe.
Yeah,
Pau
Yeah.
Gasol, Shaq, Robert Horry, Rick Fox, and Ron Artest
But
at the
all of
time.
those
Like,
guys,
yeah,
listen, all of those guys had a they had a dip. Like is bringing guys in with the wrong mentality, in my opinion.
yep,
Like those guys were brought in to the Lakers with a team. He's Braun's never brought anybody to the Lakers with a team mentality. It's always been me, guys, me, me, me. That's why everything's failing, is because Braun doesn't know how to recruit guys that are good for the team.
right. Like, how are you not going out and you're not recruiting guys like Bradley Beal? How are you not recruiting guys like maybe potentially like someone like Luca that's fiery, but he's also somebody that's a real good teammate and asset on top of all of that. And you're not recruiting somebody um even like Damian Lillard. Like Dame is just loyal to the entirety of the Trailblazers organization, but
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna give you points and he's gonna give you minutes. So it's like I don't understand that. And think about this. Think about just this whole timeline with LeBron and who he's recruited. Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Davis, great, but glass. That's always what he's basically been with his body. Not
Mm-hmm.
getting any better with it. Russell Westbrook can't really rely on shooting. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious. He's
And he's a
only
me guy. He's a me.
Yep,
He's me over the team. Those guys never work. Look, the Lakers locker room is extremely volatile, and
it's
you're
toxic.
talking
Yeah,
about bringing a guy like Westbrook into it. Like that's just that dude. That's putting that's throwing a can of gasoline on a fire. Like
it's
that's
pure
never gonna
insanity.
work. That
Yeah,
moves like that never work. They only make the situation worse.
yeah. And on top of all of that, I mean, the only people that I know for a fact would have worked with the Lakers was Alex Caruso. Um, I think in some spurts, Brandon Ingram was going to be one guy. I mean, he's already flashing right now in New Orleans with the Pelicans, but this is just this is just insanity. And
I
this
want to.
is why the Lakers' downfall is what it is.
I want to get your thoughts on something. So even though Golden State is sitting at like 500 right now,
Yeah.
I'm still not writing them off.
I'm not writing them off either.
I'm still not writing them off at all. People are like, oh, they're not going to make it and all this. Look what happened last year.
The
Look what
difference
happened last year.
the difference of it is
You listen, as long as Draymond, Clay, and Steph are healthy and they're on that team, you cannot write that team off. You can't. There's too much talent there. There's too much drive. That team is too good. You can't unless those guys are dead or have broken legs. You can't write that team off.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. They make small moves to bolster up the bench. They know to because they know that there's a lot of affordability for the Golden State Warriors because they go and they surplus the bench. They get at least a couple of real good key players that really work with this organization. But Steve Kerr and those three players, that's a match made in heaven. You're not
Mm-hmm.
breaking that away very easily. But yeah, here's the thing Golden State, as long as they punch their ticket into the playoffs, watch what they do in the playoffs. They're a completely
That's what I'm
different
talking
team.
about. They're sitting at 500, and people and analysts and team and people like all these talking heads from ESPN and all these other big news, big state sports. They're all writing them off. No, they're going to be there. You watch. They're going
Mhm.
to be in the playoffs, and once they get in the playoffs, you watch what happened.
And here's the funny thing. Boston would be probably the only team that would give him fits. If it had not been for Robert Williams' injury, that team would have literally gave him fits
Uh
because
huh.
they were really playing really well defensively and they
Yep.
were keeping the time of possession on their side. I mean, you could throw in Milwaukee, but it's as long as Chris Middleton is healthy. But still, it's like Golden State just knows exactly how to make their mark and they know how to get to every single team they play against.
Don't worry, GSW, you fuckers. We're coming for our title. You're borrowing. We'll be taking that shit back at the end of this year.
Uh, but yeah, they know how to bolster up their bench, and that is what has been the key X factor. We talk a lot about this about super teams, but you don't talk about a completed team.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
one thing because that's why the one year when we had all these duos, think about it. What was their benches shaped?
Yeah.
Wasn't great.
Mm-hmm. So here's my I want to get your take on this, Jake, but here's mine. One of the things that's I think could give the Celtics trouble in the playoffs is, let's be honest, Joe Mazzulla is a good coach, but he's not Spoelstra. He's not, he's not like he's not an he's not Spoelstra. He's not Steve Kerr. He's not these. He's not the like when he's gonna when the Celtics make the playoffs, they're gonna be facing coaches that are very good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
His coaching abilities are truly going to get tested, and I've said this from the start. We're going to see this year how far talent alone is going to take the Celtics, because in almost every matchup Joe Mazzulla goes up against in the playoffs,
Yeah.
he's going to be in a disadvantage because he's not going to be as good a coach as the guys he's facing.
Right. No, it's true. And of course, experience is everything. I mean, it's the kind that obviously a lot of these teams, and you could tell from it from the coaches that the strong ones, especially when you have Steve Kerr, or even if you have a little bits and pieces of Eric Spoelstra or Mike Budenholzer or some of these guys, they've been there. They know exactly what it takes for them to really get over the top and to be competitive at that level. But yeah, that's going to be an ultimate test that the Boston Celtics really have to deal with as far as their coaching. But I do think players will get vocal. They'll literally support him as much as they possibly can. So I
Oh no,
think
they definitely have this year. They've rallied behind him for sure. I just think like that's just an interesting. But I just it's just like an interesting point that we're gonna like. I said it from the start. We are gonna see this year how far you can go with a team with just talent alone.
yep, yeah, it's true.
Can talent alone take you to an NBA title? Can it?
N-
You know,
Not at all. You got to have a mixture of everything.
yeah. That's the question we're going to see with the Celtics. How far can they go? And
Yep.
how good of a we're going to see like I said, Missoula's coaching abilities are going to be tested every series he plays.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's going to be a completely different change, and so yeah, they're gonna be the ones tested. But again, even if you get small teams in the Eastern Conference they face against from like the first and the second round, it's like I said, I think they may end up in the championship against Milwaukee. But
Yeah.
small, like small teams in the Eastern Conference, like if they're playing Cleveland, they're beating Cleveland. They're if they're playing um if they're playing a lot of those small teams, like ones that, yeah, they may get past the first round, but can't get past the second,
Yeah.
they'll be fine. But
Yeah.
that's where I think that's the edge to Boston. But a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of it does come down to you're in the championship setting. That's the part you really got to think. Can they really get over that hump and really get past it?
Absolutely. So let's shift gears, Jake, into hockey now. So at the start of this hockey season, both of our teams, the Golden Knights and the Bruins, man, they came out red hot. Especially Vegas came out the first 9 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
They were, Boston and Vegas were fighting it out for that, for being the best team in the league. Um, but now, like, they've both kind of come crashing back down to reality. Boston not as hard as Vegas, but you see now, like the Bruins are back to reality. They're a very good team, and they're definitely going to make the playoffs and going to make some noise. But they're not, they've lost. They've hit a skid now in the middle of the season where it's kind of they've come back down to reality. Um, injuries are part of Vegas's thing, and I want to get your kind of thoughts on that, because I think the Stone injury, uh, if that one guy, if Stone makes that much of an impact on a team, I don't know if that's necessarily like a good thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But that's like Pasternak with us. When he's hurt, they instantly drop down. They instantly drop down scoring, and it when one guy makes that much of a difference on a team, it's usually not a good thing. But I'll let you talk about that. I'm gonna take a 2 minute break. I'll be right back. But yeah, like that's they both just come crashing back down. But I just want to get your thoughts on the Vegas thing because they came out gangbusters, man. It was that they were red hot.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, and I've kept saying this over and over and over again, the offense has not been it has not been solid right now because right now Riley Smith is the only person that's leading the team in goals with 18 of them, but mostly it's been about assists and points, and that's where Chandler Stevenson really has been valuable with the team along with Mark Stone. But Jack Eichel, he hasn't even gotten to his point where he's an elite scorer, but I know he's a real good puck distributor. He sees everything that's up and in front of him. William Karlsson really has taken a step back and only had 11 goals. And it's as I've said before, like offense, they need help at. They have not had a single player since the first year from Carlson where he scored 40 plus goals, has not seen any of them to where they've actually passed that threshold. They have not had like just a solid 35 plus goal scorer at all with this team. And it's just been completely mediocre. And that's why, like, the offense, it just seems like they're just scared to score. They don't really play that great as often. Now, I know they've got really good veterans all around them that keep them solid, but yeah, they're not getting many power play goals. They play too cute when it comes to offense. But yeah, they don't. This is what I was saying before, Bobby, is that they don't have a single player on that roster offensively that has broken the 35 plus goal like threshold. They haven't. Like
Yeah.
in the last few seasons. So they haven't brought anybody in. And I think part of that is it could be because it's a lack that Kelly McCrimmon has as a general manager to even get a hybrid, like a just a hyper athlete, like hyper aggressive scorer. Like we don't have anybody that's got a mentality like a Nathan McKinnon or an Austin Matthews or even a Connor McDavid. That
Yeah.
could literally change the narrative for the Golden Knights if they had just done that. Because right now, the leading scorer is Riley Smith. He's got 18 goals. That is it. That is it for this team. And then the rest of them, all it is puck distribution. And it's just, getting the much needed points with the amount of time that they have. The
Mm-hmm.
Golden Knights really have, like, here's the other thing, too. You got to give credit to Logan Thompson also. The fact that um, everybody's writing Robin Leonard off in Vegas, but Logan Thompson, really good rookie season that he is having, getting to the All-Star game along with Chandler Stevenson, but he's the guy that really has been holding his ground. But this is somebody that they have groomed under their farm system that really is looking to be the future of this Golden Knights team.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if what they do with Robin Leonard moving forward? I know they got to have a veteran voice in that goaltending room, but it just looks like it's almost as if you look at the quarterback situation because think about it. You had Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I'm not going to compare the talents with Logan Thompson like to that caliber, but if you ain't paying him anything right now, you're kind of getting a little of a break.
Yeah.
So you got to now figure out this cap situation because I know in hockey, caps are very, very stretched. This is why they don't get a whole lot of impactful players, especially ones that are hyper aggressive, that know how to score more often. But it's as I've said before, it blows my mind that they didn't even bring somebody in like a Matt Hoffman who scores 40 goals a year, but yet was brought on to St. Louis for a 1 year, 1 million.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen? And they don't even consider somebody like that. That's where I'm like, if you don't go, like, I look at it too. You got the trade deadline that's obviously, that's really around the corner right now. But I'm even looking at it. I'm bringing up the stat with as far as league leaders and guys that could potentially be up and on the move.
Mm-hmm.
But, as far as go, like, first of all, Connor McDavid's ridiculous. with 92 points he's already at, and he's even scoring up a lot of the goals. Like 41 goals, he's already leading past everybody. He's clearly the Hart Trophy winner. But think about this. The Islanders brought in Bo Horvat, 31 goals, and he's playing to the absolute extent. But all these guys right now, like they're not bringing anybody in that could at the very least pass that threshold of 35 plus goals. We
Yep.
just have a lot of guys that know how to distribute and, of course, put their time in to get the points that they need to. So if you're not doing, they're not even getting guys that are even hitting the 75-point mark.
I know.
That's why I'm like,
And let's be honest, right? The teams that win the Stanley Cup and the teams that compete for the cup every year, my biggest gripe with the Bruins for years is without the top line used to produce everything.
yeah,
And that's it. You can't win Stanley Cups with one line of production. You can't do that.
yeah, no,
Because you wear that line out, like that. It just you need to get some kind of production from lines 3 and 4, some kind. Like you have to get. That's the reason why the Bruins this year have been doing so well, is because their third and fourth lines are producing. They're overproducing. Actually, they're playing way better than they ever have, and it's taking pressure off the top line that every night they have to be at an elite level or they're going to lose.
yep,
They know that the top line for the Bruins knows that if we don't produce one night, our second, third, and fourth line going to pick us up. That's
yep,
why they've been as good as they have been this year, because of the level of production from the other lines. And that's how you win a Stanley Cup, is you get steady production from every line.
yeah. And this is why too, like again, this is why like with Logan Thompson, you're not paying him anything. And he's been
Mm-hmm.
playing really good. He's been having an average of at least 2.69 goals against average. And you've got his teammate Aiden Hill in the same position. The goaltending's not a problem. The problem is that you're not getting at least the offensive guys.
Yeah.
Defensively, they could play really good when they show up. But offensively, they're playing like way too cute. There's guys on there, even on this roster, and I have a feeling this is the trade deadline. They have got to be aggressive.
Yeah.
You got to
No,
move off.
Vegas needs some they need to make a move.
They do. They need to make several moves in order for them to really reload this roster and really get themselves to where they are hyper aggressive. Mark Stone can't always be there all the time, but you got to have guys that are willing to supplement this offense and really get themselves to where. Because first of all, look at all these offensives: Colorado, Boston, um, even the Islanders are starting to really heat themselves up, but even
Mhm.
New York is even hyper aggressive themselves. But Tampa Bay has always had that same blueprint. So a lot of these teams that do have that, the Golden Knights are lacking in. And I think part of that is everybody wants Kelly McCrimmon out because he's not bringing in the right guys that are going to be willing to make that happen.
Well, the other part of that too is one of the things that somebody said it in the chat. John, the Knights are old.
Yeah, they're
You
old.
guys needed that. You don't have that infusion of youth that you need to be successful for in the long run. But like the Knights, formula works in the short term, but you need that in, like, look at the Bruins. They knew they needed to get younger, and they went out and did it. Like it's without that infusion of youth and that next generation. Yeah, you might win one. You might win one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But like you're gonna wait, 15 years for another one. Like it's consistency is key, man. And the if you don't have young talent in the farm system or on the team as it is now, that's a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is a serious problem. But you look at a lot of these guys right now that are already past, the 20 goal mark, and a lot of them that are youngsters. I mean, hell, Alex Tuck has already had 24 goals and he's got 55 points right now with Buffalo, and he's obviously succeeding. I didn't like it with the fact that he got traded away because I know injuries really killed it, but still, I didn't like it. Um, Kyle Connor, young kid, 24 goals and 59 points. And you're also looking at Cole Caulfield, who's got 26 goals and 36 points. Like the kid is really playing well. And even Zach Hyman in Edmonton, 26 goals and 60 points. And it makes it embarrassing too when you got guys like Tage Thompson with 34 goals and 68 points, who's having an immaculate season.
Yeah.
Jason Robertson, 33 goals and 66 points, and then Jack Hughes at 33 and 64. Like, are we just going to continuously trade our first round picks every
Let's
time?
be honest too. Let's talk one more just one more point on hockey, and then we'll get into baseball real quick. Uh Jack Hughes. I don't think with the current team where he sits, his ceiling is like, dude, it's Mount Everest.
Yeah,
But I think he's being held back, dude. A lot.
that might be interesting though. I mean, but it's funny because Jack Hughes, we all seen him as this big
Well,
time all
the
star
team, the
talent,
team.
but
I'm talking about the team he's on is holding him back from reaching his full potential.
it could be. But I don't know. Like I even said that like earlier on my show where I think the Devils may be buyers because they're going to need to start making at least some moves to really move the ceiling up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it. Like they've already got Vanacek who's playing really good at goaltending, and you've got the defensive reputation with Dougie Hamilton playing well, and several others that I mean, and the team is young. The team is starting to move in that young movement. You got Jack Hughes' brother, Luke Hughes, that's also on this roster.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so you got potentiality somewhere. But no, I mean, you're right. I mean, but it is an interesting story with New Jersey because of just where they are. I mean, good God. When they were aggressive, when they first got Taylor Hall, I mean, you know how hyper aggressive that team was going. They were speedsters. They were playing really well, and then they took a crash landing. So I don't know. I do see the Devils maybe potentially being buyers, but it'll be interesting to see how the trade deadline really works out for a lot of teams because there's going to be a lot of truths unfolding by the time we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Oh yeah. No, dude. 100%. 100%. It's going to be very interesting too because it's funny, right? Because the Bruins. It's funny though because teams like the Minnesota Wild, right?
Mhm.
Who let like the Minnesota Wild, right, are big, fast, and physical.
Yep.
And like those that type of a team gives the Bruins more trouble than playing like the Lightning or like
They
you know what I
play
mean
really good
or
defense.
like the Avalanche, you know? Like they give them because the Bruins aren't big. You know, they're physical, but they're physical, but they're not like those the teams that give Boston the most trouble are the teams that have size.
Yep. Yeah,
And it's been like that for 10 years.
yeah,
The
and
Bruins aren't big. They're not a big team. Are they physical? They know how to throw their weight around, but they just, when they get it, that's like a crew, it's kind of like a middleweight trying to fight a heavyweight.
yeah.
It's they, they'll hang for one or two rounds, but eventually you're gonna get KO'd at some point.
No, it's true. And the funny thing of it is because you look around you in the Eastern Conference and the only teams that like first of all, Boston and Toronto, not even close. Toronto wouldn't even be able to get over that hump because they continuously are a cursed team. They
Yeah.
can't get past like
Well, and I love it. I love it.
yeah, they can't get past them. And then there's like Tampa would probably give them fits, but I mean, as far as the Metropolitan Division, it's completely changed. Um,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got the
100%.
I think honestly, Boston and New York would probably get themselves to a 7-game stretch, maybe 6,
Yeah.
but that would be a little bit of something that might be some low blows here and there,
Yeah.
but that's physicality shifting everywhere. But I think
Oh,
that might be the only time, but
well,
as
no
far as
doubt.
everybody
So
else, yeah.
let's before we end it, Jake, what do you think? So I'm going to ask you, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Who makes the Stanley Cup? Who makes the cup?
I think Boston certainly does make the cup. But the way that their momentum is, and here's the other part too. This was an interesting part. They move. off of Bruce Cassidy as their head coach,
Mhm.
and they go and get Montgomery, and he completely changed the narrative of Boston. They're now hyper
100%.
aggressive where they're really physical. They and by the way, isn't Linus Allmark just a diamond in the rough? Like
Oh,
he
dude,
literally
they hit the jackpot when they got him.
the guy for Buffalo.
I don't think they ever expected to get the production out of him that they when they picked him up, they fully expected him to be a very solid backup, a guy that they could plug and play when Swayman needed a break. That's
Yep.
what dude, they're getting elite level goaltending out of him on a nightly basis.
Yeah, and think about it. This is a guy who literally came from a Buffalo system, which Buffalo has to shoot themselves in the foot every time when they lose guys like that.
Yeah.
So, and they're using him to the best of his strengths, but and you still have a lot of the core pieces with Brad Marchand and, Patrice Bergeron and even David Pastrnak, but it's not as far and
This
not as
is it
long.
for them too, Jake. If they
Yeah,
don't win this year, then Bergie and Marshawn, they're not going to see a cup. They won't before they retire. They won't see one.
yeah,
This is it. This is their, and I think that's why they go out and they play gangbusters every night. Is they I think the team knows that this is it, dude. This is their shot to send Marchand and Bergeron off into the sunset the way they want him to go.
yeah.
The way
No, I
that
agree.
Bergeron deserves to retire. You know what I mean?
Yep.
This is their shot to do that. And I think the whole team I've never seen the Bruins play as hard as they've played for an entire season than this. They play hard. They have maybe taken 3 or 4 games off this whole year where they've taken their foot off the gas.
Yep.
This team is playing hard every night, every period, every shift, dude. It's wild to watch that the 110% effort every shift, which is why they're sitting where they're sitting.
No, it's true, and I honestly think that Boston. Yeah, there's going to be the Rangers and the Lightning that might give them fits. Maybe possibly Carolina, because we know the Hurricane. They've got an assignment for themselves, and how Rod Brindamore is really playing. The rest of just the team, but there might be some holes that Carolina may have. But again, Carolina's been to this point. They haven't even gotten over the humps themselves. They'll
Yeah.
be as talented as they can, but it's all about grinding it out to getting past, the next opponent in that series in order
Hmm.
to make the Stanley Cup. But because it's not as easy, and Boston has known that. Boston knows that for a long amount of time, being in the Stanley Cup in 2019, and they want to get back into it desperately. Yeah, because the core, there's only so much of it. But I think in the West, um, it was the Vegas Golden Knights for me. But I think because of now just
Avalanche, I think.
collapse. Oh, I don't even know about the Avalanche. The thing about and I had a guy, Chris Maselli, I talked with him yesterday,
Hmm.
but one of the things he mentioned is because health is a big thing for the Avalanche. They do wanna go and make moves, but the only thing about it is that they hope that nobody gets hurt in the middle of it, and they've been without Gabriel Landeskog now for a long time.
A
So
very long time.
yeah, and so they're leaning a lot of this on Nathan McKinnon. Plus, too, I mean, Alexander Gorgiev has been really good at goaltending for the Avalanche this year, but it's all about health, puck distribution, and of course, the offense has to stay hyper aggressive. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's several teams, but I think honestly, um, I'm just very surprised at how the Seattle Kraken is this year. And now it's surprised, but yet no surprise because I know when they had the expansion draft, they drafted defense. They
Yeah,
know they
they
needed to
they went they
address.
went like 80% D, didn't they?
Yep, and then all of a sudden, you had Jordan Eberle, who is the fire starter. Then
Hmm.
in comes Matt Beniers out of Michigan, and these guys are literally playing really good offensively, and
Yeah.
that's where Seattle really has played their best. But as far as all the other teams go, Calgary possibly, but I don't think they may get far that
I
stretch.
think the West is
Wide
wide
open.
open, dude. I think the West is wide.
But
I think the West is wide
maybe
open.
one team to keep your eye on. Keep your eye on the Dallas Stars. That
They've played really well the last like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. They've
I'm gonna make a bold prediction. If the Stars make it into the Stanley Cup this year,
really.
and if they win it, that is a slap in the face to the Golden Knights. And that is where you have to fire Kelly McCrimmon.
Oh, that's true because that's true.
Pete
It
DeBoer
would be a
was
smack in the face to
Pete
them. That's
DeBoer
I
was the
forgot all
partner.
about that.
Yeah, it would be because I've told people like I've talked to Dane Lewis who's on Locked On Stars, and he loves the fact that Pete and it's no surprise. Pete DeBoer is a defensive coach. He has always had a defensive mentality. Now he
Mhm.
has always had a great track record of the first year he's with the team, they're in the
Yeah.
playoffs, and then
Yeah.
they get far in the playoffs. And but the difference is, look at what they got around them.
Yeah.
Rupert Hintz is playing really good. Jason Robertson has really emerged and is in his prime now as a youngster. Plus, two, I mean, they're going to be buyers as well this year. I think they're because they're looking for a top six winger. They got to have somebody that's there to at least gel with Jamie Benn and with Tyler Seguin in that
I think
second
the
line.
one they need to repair that third line.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
the one thing they got to do. Their first two lines are fine. That third line is a mess for them.
Yeah, I mean, the second and third line is the big time priority for them. But here's the other thing too: they let go of John Klingberg, but that didn't make a difference.
No.
Miro Haskinen's playing really good defensively, and by the way, Jake Odinger,
Yeah.
holy hell, he's second best right now behind Linus Olmark as far as goaltending's been playing.
No, they've had the Stars. I think the Stars. See, people wrote them off quick because of the youth on the team. Not
Oh, I
like,
didn't.
but like, let's be honest, right? Sometimes it takes these guys a month or two to really get used to the way the NHL plays. You know, like the that AHL to NHL leap when it comes to game speed is wild.
And two other teams to really keep an eye on as well. Winnipeg Jets. Because Connor Hellebuck really is the heartbeat of that team. But
Yep.
here's the other thing I watch them too. They are physically aggressive. I mean, Mark
Oh no,
Scheifele
dude,
plays
they're not
field.
afraid. They're not afraid to crash the net at all.
Oh yeah, and this is also doing this without Dustin Bufflin. And the funny thing of it is Kyle Connor plays as well as he does. Mark Scheifele, one of the
Mhm.
best that's there. But the other thing is too, Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's starting to distribute the puck. And a lot of the guys around them from like the second to fourth lines, they're really gelling. And defensively, I mean, Dylan DeMello
The wings.
and
Here's my only thing with them. Right, the wing production out of them is either really good or really bad.
or really bad. But the funny thing about it is no Patrick Laine. So they are trying to get as many wingers as they possibly could. They could be buyers this trade deadline as well to go and get themselves a wing
Because
to distribute on.
consistency is what's killing them. Because when that team is on and they're all playing well and they're getting production out from the wings on all the lines, they can beat anybody, dude.
Oh yeah.
They could beat anybody.
And finally, it's all or nothing for the Edmonton Oilers right now.
Yep.
All or
Yep.
nothing. Because Connor McDavid playing this great right now at the level and you don't get over the hump, like that's a failure in my opinion.
Oh
And
yeah.
and that's
Oh
why
yeah.
I'm like, and this is the funny thing. Not only is it Draisaitl and Connor McDavid playing well, but talk about Zach Hyman this year.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Hyman's really been distributing and he's really been producing well on the offense. But I think part of that is the goaltending has to continuously stay solid, but the defense really has to be shut down. It's been kind of a little bit of a liability here, but I think they can figure something out.
Oh no, absolutely, dude. The thing, so I feel like there's a handful of teams that are bubble playoff teams, right?
Mhm.
That if there's a handful out, There's about six, and if they could, like, the consistency is what's killing them. They'll play, elite level hockey for 1 month and then absolutely just fall off and get nothing for, like, that's what's a lot of these bubble teams, they don't have the consistency that the Bruins have, that some of these that the Lightning have, that even like teams like the Islanders, they're consistent.
Like,
You're consistent.
I'll give you a shortened thing real quick. Now, Western Conference, teams that I can really be confident on as far as contention goes, Dallas Stars,
Yep.
Winnipeg Jets,
Yep.
Colorado Avalanche. Um, I think as a wild cards, like the Kings and the Wild. And the
Mm-hmm.
teams that are outside looking in, probably gonna be Edmonton, Calgary, and Nashville. Because the only thing about the Vegas Golden Knights is because if they don't get that elite score, they could collapse. They
Absolutely.
collapse really, really bad. And that's why I'm like, they have to figure it out this year. Eastern Conference, Boston, no doubt, by a
Yeah.
long shot.
The Lightning will be there for
Lightning,
sure.
Carolina.
Yep.
I think the Rangers got as close as they did last year. And um and I think the teams outside looking in would be Toronto, Washington, Pittsburgh, and I'll throw one out you, possibly Buffalo. The reason I say it
See,
because
I would put the Devils over Buffalo
I
simply
would too.
because I would trust New Jersey. Like
Yeah.
I trust New Jersey in high pressure situations because they've proven they can win when the pressure's cranked up. Over
Yep.
the Sabres, dude, let's be honest. The Sabres don't they can't win in high pressure situations. They cave. They
Like
cave.
like perfect example, the Buffalo Sabres are literally playing like how the Seattle Mariners are
Yeah.
because they're trying to break that curse that they had. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't been in the playoffs in a very long time. And they haven't really been that same similar team since the Dominic Hasek era.
Yep.
And so it's no surprise to me with it, but the other thing of it is too, I like the Islanders, but there are inconsistencies I watched with them. I
Yeah.
do like Eli Sorokin, don't get me wrong, but there are inconsistencies. Now, I think maybe part of that is because they were lacking more of what they lost from Jordan Eberle,
Yep.
but that's why they brought Bo Horvat in.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they might change a little bit of that narrative because again, I like Josh Bailey, I like Brock Nelson, I also do like JG Pageau, but you cannot afford to have inconsistencies in this roster. So that's
Yeah.
why, like, I'd love to put my chips in on the Islanders because they've been in the Eastern Conference a couple times with Barry Trotz. Now that it's different. So I'd be surprised if they even get past the second round this year.
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised they do.
But I think that's going to do it, Jake. Thanks again for coming on, man. Thanks for hanging out, talking some sports, and once again being a guest on the show. Appreciate that.
Absolutely,
But
man.
that's going to do it for episode 31, guys. Me and Jake appreciate all the support. If you haven't already subscribed to the Snake Sports Talk Show, Jake, put your link in the chat. I'll put it in the description too. Go and give my dude a follow. He's a wealth of knowledge on all four major sports. And he's worth the subscription for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also too, we've gotten so many different interviews now where like it's interviews galore in the last couple of days. I've just been
So
like
tell them where they can find you, Jake. You're on all the social media platforms, right? Tell them where they can get at you, find you guys.
Yep. So I'm all around all the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Those are the medias that you can like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications to keep you up to date on the show. And also audio podcasts where you can find them: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple and Google Podcasts. And
the Snake Sports Talk Show on all of them, right?
Yep.
All right. So the Snake Sports Talk Show on all your social media platforms, guys. Go give them a follow, give them a subscribe. And
we're on the road to 1,000, damn it. Like we're already at 547 right now, trying to get to 550 and then further and beyond. So we're on that long haul journey to get there.
You'll get there. But thanks again, Jake, for coming on the show. Appreciate that, man. Go get you some breakfast. I'm going to go get me some lunch.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Y'all have a good one, guys. Me and Jake appreciate the support as usual. And we will catch you later on the next one. Don't forget, Jake also does his shows Saturday morning, correct?
Yep, Saturday
you
and
have
Sunday
your
morning.
Saturday morning show. So if you want some morning sports talk Saturday mornings, check them out, guys. You will not regret it.
7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday and Sunday. And no show this upcoming Saturday, but we are laying it all on the line on Super Bowl Sunday. So you don't want to end up missing that edition of the Snake Sports Talk Show, because I've got my one and only, my favorite segment, Jake's Prime Predictions. It's going to be real special because it's the Super Bowl edition, and you know how I like to go all out on that as well.
Yes.
Because I love this segment, and the segment's coming to a close now until next year. So yeah, can't wait for it.
Thanks again for coming on, Jake. Appreciate the show. Appreciate the input. And as always, guys, we thank you. Me and Jake both appreciate all the support. Jake's on the way to 1,000. Please go help him out. And we will see y'all on the next one. We're out of here, guys. That's it for episode 31 of Down the Pike. See you on the next one.
Appreciate you guys.